Hello and welcome to another episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. I'm Mike Evans.
And I'm David Price.
And David, on today's riff, what are we going to be talking about?
It's the Musical Fidelity MX DAC and the matching MX Stream, Mike.
Excellent. And we've had a little bit of a theme on a few of our reviews because, once again, these are not full-size boxes.
No.
They're little diminutive, tiny little things which are super cute.
Yep.
And do a lovely job.
Yes.
We can sort of hide them away nicely.
Yep.
And away we go. And look, I've got one here. I've got the MX Stream. Not much to see there, is there really? It's a bit boring, though, isn't it? Not the most exciting front panel, but hey, nothing wrong with that.
No.
And you've got the
MX DAC.
which, again, very, diminutive and, again, not too much to see. But as we spoke about with a previous product, which was the Cambridge MXN10, which is a similar form factor size, I think we quite like the fact these minimalist DACs because they just do what they do with no sort of unnecessary clutter or crud or anything like that. So, really, really nice.
Yeah, I mean, certainly from my point of view, as someone who's got too much hi-fi in my house,
have you?
a lot of it quite heavy and big.
Yes.
It's actually really nice to. Do you want to take that call, Mike?
It's
Okay.
It's telling me that you've been speaking for more than 20 seconds,
right.
so it's time to move on.
Okay. Well, I'll shut up then. So, it's actually really good, I think, to have a small footprint, as they used to say in the back in the world of computers in the 90s. Small footprint product. That is in the case of the Musical Fidelity MXs, they're really nicely made, aren't they?
Really super.
So,
really, really nice. Obviously, we've got two boxes here, but the Cambridge, which we reviewed, does both of these things in one. It's got the streamer and the DAC included. Obviously, this is separated. I quite like the idea here, and I'll tell you why. Because if you've got a good DAC, then actually this is a cracking streamer. And if you've got a streamer, then that's a cracking DAC.
It is.
And put them together, and hey presto, you've got a really, really lovely sound. Actually,
Okay, that's it.
That'll do. Move on. End of. Yeah. So I really like this.
Yeah.
I think this is a super product. It's I'm a Roon user.
Yes.
We've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
This couldn't be simpler to use. I plug it in my Ethernet, and then I've got a USB DAC. I've only got one output, which is a USB. Oh my gosh, I want to say, is that Type A? The standard anyway, USB connector out. And then
it's USB 2, isn't it?
USB 2, USB 2. That's it, and then that's it. So USB 2 into a DAC, and away we go. Roon finds it immediately. You can plug. I mean, I actually plug my phone into this, so I've got a USB C to USB B.
Yeah.
God, all these USB in different formats. Again, that worked really nicely. You can even do HDMI out from this if you want to.
Yeah.
Again, quite like that. Haven't used that. On the front, you've got another USB, but this is for storage.
Yeah.
So you can have this as as like your streaming transport, if you like. So you don't have to do it via your network. Lovely, really, really nice.
Yeah, it's got everything you need.
Everything
it's
you need.
got nothing that you don't need.
No, exactly.
So the point being is it's basically like a DCS network bridge that doesn't include a DAC.
Yes.
You bring your own DAC to the party, as it were.
Yes.
Whatever DAC you may have. Many people watching, I'm sure, already have DACs. It's a very high quality. One single purpose streamer, isn't it?
It is.
£859.
£859.
Yeah.
See, okay, I'm going to ask you a bit of a $1 million question here, and it's quite a hard one for me because you'd think that all of these would do the same job, wouldn't you? They'd get the ones and zeros in from the network, and they'd pipe it through to your DAC, and that'd be it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to be the case. They definitely have sound and tonal characteristics, and some, without a doubt, sound much better than others.
Yep.
And this, along with, I'll tell you the other one I really like is the Metrum Ombre
Yep.
Rune bridge,
Yep.
which I think is a really great bit of kit. More expensive than this. That's about £1,100 or £1,200.
Yep.
But really, really lovely sounding Rune bridge. But you would think they would all sound the same, but they don't. They clearly don't.
No.
But this is great. On the front, look, you don't have a lot. You can turn it on and off, and you can swap between your USB and your PC, and that's it for your input.
That's not enough buttons for you then.
I really like it, and it's a very sort of satisfying little click switch as well. It's not like a rocker switch; it's a little click up and down.
Yeah.
So really good. Now the only thing, and again we've talked about this before on previous riffs, which I'm a little bit unsure about, is it comes with a very, very cheap 5-volt Chinese external power supply.
Yes. Well,
and look, you go online and people say they add noise to the system, they're not very good, they swap them with the linear ones, all of this stuff. We've talked about it before. That would be, if I was going to have a criticism, that would probably be it.
Well, if you were Name Audio, you'd
yes.
you'd supply a matching one in the box like that and charge $2,000 for it.
Of course you
with
would.
A toroidal transformer or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the sort of power supply thing is a whole can of worms. It's very interesting that Chord Electronics, they also have off-board power supplies, and the less expensive versions, I'm trying to be diplomatic here, the cheaper versions have those kind of as you say, those little Chinese-made switch modes. I mean, the fact it's made in China really doesn't make any difference because everything's made in China.
Well, that's very true.
At that price, it's
very true.
Not necessarily a bad thing in itself.
No.
Including great many of the components that you're using to watch this video are all also made in China. So,
true.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. But having a separate power supply in some ways is a good thing because it takes the noisy power supply away from all of the electronics. But then it depends on the quality of the power supply, and the fact that it's an off-board one doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad. It depends on what works. And I think to get the level of sound quality that you get from these two things, obviously the power supply is half decent. It would be interesting to have separate power supplies, wouldn't it?
It would.
Optional add-on power supplies.
And people, I'm sure people will buy aftermarket ones and plug them in because 5-volt, 2-amp or whatever it is pretty standard these days. I mean, that's probably a power bank output, isn't it? Actually, that would be an interesting one to have a DC power bank going in.
Well, there you go. If you're someone like Arthur Kubasarian,
exactly, our pal Arthur. Yes, that's exactly what he would do.
You'd be sat there with a couple of batteries from a motorbike, wouldn't you?
Yes, quite. Quite.
I've tried actually some power supplies from Mains Cables R Us, MCRU, David Brooke, and he sells some very good ones. That's always an interesting thing to try. I tried some with some cheaper Chord DACs back in the day. Chord very strongly said no, don't use anyone else's power supply. But I found actually they improved the sound. But, that's
a can of worms topic. That is,
worms.
It's a proper can of worms topic because Chord say it doesn't.
Yeah.
So. In terms of functionality on this, again, really good, well future-proofed. An awful lot of inputs here, an awful lot of DAC inputs. So we've got two coaxials, two opticals, and a asynchronous USB.
Yep.
Spot on. In terms of output, you've got obviously your standard RCAs, but also balanced outputs.
Yep.
Which is a nice touch.
Definitely.
10 out of 10 musical fidelity. Thanks for doing that. Really nice. Easy to read.
Yes.
Chord take note.
I'll just get my microscope.
Well, you say that, but at least I know what it is rather than having to go on a colour chart and work out, what my sampling rate is.
Yes, compared to Chord Electronics, it's easy to read.
It is.
You need to be. You need to have Mr. Magoo level spectacles to see what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. You do a little bit.
They are slightly small, those LEDs, aren't they?
They are slightly small, but I like it, and I think it's a nice form factor. Sound quality, nitty gritty. These together sound great. In fact, as I mentioned a moment ago, individually they sound great. So you can pair this with, a sort of a streamer of your choice. You can pair this with a DAC of your choice, but actually together they work very, very, very nicely indeed. And I think Musical Fidelity come up with all sorts of claims about them, don't they? Being sort of bit perfect and lowest jitter and all of that stuff.
So they do say that the DAC has very low jitter and ultra low jitter, and I was reading a Hi-Fi News lab report by Paul Miller, who knows an awful lot about these things, and he found it to be true. It's extremely low jitter and very, very low distortion for the DAC.
Yes,
that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but then you listen to it, and it actually sounds really
good,
super clean.
629.
629.
This is dearer. This is 8 something.
859.
859. So 1,500 quid for the two, but for 629, I think this is great.
Yeah, it really is very, very clean and open sounding.
It is. Got great bass as well.
Yeah.
Really, really good bass.
Burr Brown PCM 1795, which is not flavour of the month I'm sorry, all you ESS fans, but it just works incredibly well. And for me, if I had 400, 500 quid, I'd be looking at the Chord Mojo.
Yeah.
And then if I was, I had sort of 1,200, then it would be the Chord. What's it?
Cutest.
Cutest.
Yeah.
This is a nice thing in the middle. Actually.
It really is. It's spot on.
I think it's one of the best proper kind of tabletop as opposed to portable DACs.
I would have no hesitation in recommending this DAC.
No.
We reviewed the Cambridge Audio MXN10 recently, which is a few hundred quid cheaper, a third of the price less. It's not as good as that.
No,
that's a cracking DAC.
Yeah, obviously that's.
But it's a third more again.
The Cambridge Audio MXN10 is a streamer, obviously. But we tried, as you'll see if you see our review of that, we tried the Cambridge Audio as a streamer through its own DAC.
Yes.
And then through...
Which is really good.
This.
And then we swapped it with that.
And this was very noticeably better.
It was.
So,
but no, you're quite right. You don't get the streamer with it. So, I mean, to be fair, in terms of value for money, the Cambridge is both of these boxes put together, isn't it? So we're doing it a bit of an injustice there.
Yeah.
I agree. Apologies, Cambridge.
But there's an upgrade path, though, isn't there?
There really is.
So if you do get, for example, that very budget Cambridge Audio streamer, you could take the digital out and put it through something like this.
Yes.
Or indeed, if you've got a kind of decent basic CD transport, like the Audiolab 6000 CDT or something like that, you could take that and put it through this, and it's a very clean and musical sounding thing, I think.
Yes.
It's not as good as a Chord Cutest, twice the price.
No.
But it's, you don't need to make excuses for it at all.
No, quite. No, absolutely. And in terms of pairing with this lovely little bit perfect streamer here, you've just got to make sure that you've got connectivity with your DAC.
Yeah.
For example, I don't think you could connect that to a Mojo because it wouldn't, because the Mojo is coax only, isn't it? Am I right in saying that? Oh, it's optical as well. But again, I think you'd struggle a little bit. Yeah. I think you just have to do your homework a bit and find out what'll work with what. Certainly, obviously, these two work together. But it's a one-trick pony with its output.
Yes, it is.
So
but I mean, there's a certain beauty about that. I mean, the DCS network bridge is very kind of purist thing as well. But obviously you have to make sure that it will talk to whatever DAC you're wanting to use. But as a combination, it's just quintessential Musical Fidelity. I mean, I think. So I did the M3 SCD a few years ago for a Hi-Fi Choice group test, which is a sort of £1,200 CD player, something like that. Price may have changed now, but roughly that. And it had been out for a couple of years. It wasn't the sort of flavour of the month, and it completely smashed all the others.
Yes,
So the point is that Musical Fidelity are doing very good stuff still, I think, and the quality of build and construction is excellent. Unlike the A1, my lovely Musical Fidelity A1, the sort of
our most watched Hi-Fi Riff
is it
at the moment. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Your Musical Fidelity A1.
So
Of all the things we've done, it's your flipping dodgy old toaster egg fryer amplifier
my
that
waffle
people,
toaster.
yes, that people watch the most.
As Tim de Paravicini called it, I think, waffle toaster. But this is, again, the build quality is on another level. The finish,
it's lovely.
The smoothness of the case, everything, the anodizing or all the rest of it is just fantastic.
Yes.
Really nicely made bit of kit. Built in the EU, so it's now owned by Project, I believe. The brand.
The nice guys at Project.
Heinz Lissenegger.
Based in Didcot, Oxfordshire.
Their UK distributor is, so Heinz is based in Vienna, and I think he has his factory in the Czech Republic. So there we go.
There we are.
It's all very nicely made. For 650 quid-ish, 620 or whatever, 630. It's hard to ask for more.
No, quite. This one's upgradable as well. You can change the operating system if you want to, if that's your thing. So it's pretty future-proofed as well as a streamer. Really like it. Very musical. All ticks all the hi-fi boxes. Very detailed. All of the things which we like. It's a good rocky, get you going. Streamer and DAC.
Well, we were playing Wrapped Around Your Finger.
That's right. Yeah, because we were comparing that to the Cambridge.
Which is one of those tracks that gets better and better the better quality stuff you use. And it was really kind of getting into the nitty gritty of the recording. It was very smooth and delicate. Had a lovely mid range, nicely wide sound stage. Quite sweet sparkling treble and a bit of grunt in the bass, didn't it? Yes,
absolutely. And we used this with the new exposure pre-power, the 31 series, and
3510.
The 3510, I beg your pardon, 3510 pre-power, which is lovely, absolutely lovely, and we'll do a riff on that as well. With the Falcon acoustic LS35As.
That's right.
It sounded great. Sounded a really lovely system. Put together. I'm going to say the R word. We played New World Man by Rush, which is an incredibly horribly recorded song on a rubbish system, but you get a great system and it sounds amazing.
It does.
And it sounded really good. So it was that for me. That was an acid test.
We also used your crappy old Linsaras as well, Mike. It sounded.
We did. We tried them through my crappy old Linsaras. How dare you?
We can hear some bass as well.
You get some bass. And if you've got bass, that's actually something which that DAC has. It's got a really, really great layer of bass. It really can reproduce it. Which was, for us, it was first class, absolutely first class. So really enjoying these.
Absolutely.
Well done, very well done, Musical Fidelity. I have to say, I particularly like this streamer. I'm really, really impressed with this streamer.
Well, you can't have it.
In fact, they're going back tomorrow.
So,
but they've been good to have and use. I've enjoyed it. So, good stuff.
So I think my only criticism is the display. I can't, I'm sort of still trying to, see things without using my glasses. I can just about read that sample rate. There we go. But it's kind of for people with bionic vision, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. But it does everything. They do everything. Excellent. Let's do a riffometer on the MX streamer and MX DAC. 9. Yeah. I'm with you
really
all the way.
Good.
Really, really good.
Price,
fantastic. And particularly, I think if we'd split the products, I'd probably be giving this a 10 and that a 9.
Okay.
But as a package, let's do a 9. Because I think that's more than fair. Because they're super. They're really, really cool. So look, hats off again, Musical Fidelity. We're impressed by another one of their products. First class. And thank you again for watching this episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. We'll look forward to seeing you very much at the next one. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.